Good to see you all. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of this little exploration. I am Tania Kazi, and I am your teacher, hopefully, for this SPIRE Yoga journey, or your, guide, river guide. So I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit. It's lovely to see happy, shiny faces. We have some more people joining in. Okay. All right. So I just want to introduce myself a little bit to everybody. I've been teaching yoga for the last 15 years in New York City and also worldwide. I've led yoga retreats internationally in Morocco, Spain, Bali, Thailand, Turkey. I came to yoga because I met Dr. Ben-Shahar when I was doing my undergraduate studies at Harvard in positive psychology. And when I was graduating, Tal had said, why don't you study yoga? Why don't you think about studying yoga? Although, I didn't really pay heed to what he suggested in the beginning, and I started off with corporate. But then after a few years, I decided I wanted to take a yoga class. I was actually going through a very stressful time. So I decided to take a yoga class. And as some of you may have experienced, are there any yogis in the room? Maybe you can raise a hand. Any practicing yoga? Okay. Practicing yoga students. As it happens with yoga, it really just took one class to make me feel very differently. I just took off on the path and I never looked back. I realized that when stress, anxiety, concerns affect you and you go through a difficult time in life, and everybody's going to get hit with that, but what one needs is skills to get through the difficult times, right? And yoga for me became a very powerful set of skills. It became the thing that got me through a really, really rough phase of my life, you could say. And that's when I signed up for the 200-hour teacher training. Now, for those who know yoga and have been practicing yoga, you guys might be aware of the fact that it's so much more than postures. Yoga is not just asana. It's not just taking, interesting poses or twisting like a pretzel or getting into handstands. That is part of yoga too, but yoga is really a life journey. It is really a commitment to yourself that I want to change something. I want to improve. I want to up-level my game. And, it being the new year, our next cohort starting on January 6th, it's really a perfect time. The blend of the new year and the study of SPIRE Yoga is just it's a sweet complement to whatever resolution you may have of up-leveling yourself for the next year. Other than it being more than just postures, it's a journey of healing. It's a journey of empowerment. It's a journey of getting to know yourself better, right? And SPIRE Yoga is different than other yoga teacher trainings. So when I took that first yoga class, I started with Ashtanga Yoga. I took a 200-hour teacher training in Ashtanga. And after that, I did Vinyasa, 300-hour teacher training in Vinyasa, and went on to teach for 15 years. But I realized that we could offer more of the same, but with Tal Ben-Shahar being one of the visionaries of the program, he had an idea that was quite different than what is being offered in the market per se. Um, since some of you are familiar with Tal's work and are students of his in different capacities, whether it's the certification or it is the master's program or the PhD, you know that the goal of Happiness Studies Academy is to help everyone learn the skills to live a more wholesome and happier life, a more fulfilling life, and also teach all of us the tools to be able to surf the waves of life with grace and with strength in the body, right? Now, it was a bunch of years ago that Tal came across Lee Albert, who is nicknamed the magician at Kripalu Institute. He's actually one of the, you could say, pioneers of the IPT or integrated physical therapy system. That is part of what our anatomy is, what the SPIRE Yoga anatomy piece is. There are three pillars upon which SPIRE Yoga stands. Now, I'm going to just share a little bit about, I wanted to share a little bit about myself. I want to talk a little bit about SPIRE, and then I want to open it up and I want to answer your questions. Of course, this is always very nerve-wracking for me, so please bear with me also. Having new potentially interested people and talking about our program, which has been such a sacred baby for us. And our journey started in 2025, June of 2025. And we're so proud and happy that our third cohort is going to be starting successfully on January 6th. And hopefully you might be part of it. But it was when Tal met Lee Albert, who is a neuromuscular therapist, and he saw the yoga and the healing that he was doing in people's bodies who would come to him with chronic pain, that he started thinking that we need to create a yoga program in which we are incorporating the training, the work of Lee Albert, so that we're teaching yoga, the ancient science and philosophy of yoga, the incredible wisdom of the anatomy that Lee Albert was teaching. And also, the third pillar of SPIRE is the happiness studies and the MBI, which is the mind-body integration piece. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of these. What you will learn if you sign up for the yoga teacher training, which is a 200-hour teacher training. It's Yoga Alliance certified. We will be fulfilling all the requirements of what Yoga Alliance expects our students to fulfill in order to be certified students. The ancient yoga piece is really the yoga that has existed for more than 5,000 years, right? We will be talking and studying about the sages, the history, the philosophy, the ethics, the foundation of yoga. Yoga being so much more than just postures, it being a way of living your life so that the way you show up in your life is a path of healing. It's a path of self-healing and healing the world that you're in. It's a path of integrity. It's a path of empowerment. It's a path of inner and outer beauty. And then we have the IPT piece, which is our anatomy piece. Now, this is really interesting. And when I heard it the first time, I was quite blown away. It is believed that upwards of $600 billion are spent every year on pain medication. A lot of bodies, as they age, experience pain. And it was found that more than 80% of pain in the body comes from muscular imbalance, right? So when you hear from older bodies who have a lower back pain, or even younger bodies, really, upper back pain, I have a hip pain, I have a leg pain, up to 80% of that pain is coming from muscular imbalance. What we're studying and learning at SPIRE Yoga is that muscles work in pairs. And when a particular muscle is hurting, we look at the opposite set of muscles to understand what's going on that is causing the pain. You're actually going to learn all of this in SPIRE Yoga. And the training that you will receive will help you not only heal your own body if you have experienced pain or are experiencing pain, but it will help you heal other people as well as prepare your body to be pain-free out into the future. Because the sequence we study in SPIRE Yoga is a set sequence. It's a predetermined sequence that we have created after much thought, after much science, after much experimentation. Lee Albert has been healing bodies for 30 years. So we're using that wisdom and we've created our sequence. It has all the yoga poses you're familiar with. Some of you may be familiar with them, right? If you're taking yoga classes, but it's the way they have been presented, the way that they're tied together, the way one pose leads to the other that creates the SPIRE Yoga sequence. And so the third piece is MBI, Mind-Body Integration, which is a book that Tal Ben-Shahar has written. It will be published shortly. It's a book that talks about the magical relationship between the nervous system, the mind, and the physical body. So it's based on the premise that every emotion has a physical corollary. So that there's been scientific studies on, across the world globally, that such as there was a study by Paul Ekman that talked about how when people are smiling, right, it informs their nervous system. The way people stand, their posture affects how they're feeling inside. If you're slouching and you're hunched up, it's going to affect your mood. It's also going to affect your inner environment. It affects your nervous system. And we are taking yoga poses to create an emboldened human body and a human experience, right? So yes, we talk about grief. Yes, we study sorrow. We study every aspect of the entire gamut of human emotions, but we also imbibe the physical postures that actually uplift the inner world. They actually inform your nervous system of how to feel confident, to feel brave, to feel victorious, to feel courageous, to feel held, to feel supported. So the thought process and the experimentation and the work that has gone behind putting SPIRE Yoga together is the work of three people: Tal Ben-Shahar, Lee Albert, and myself. I've been teaching yoga for 15 years, as I'd mentioned, around the world. I've witnessed all kinds of bodies walking in and out of classes, all kinds of traumas held in the body, all kinds of stories, depression, anxiety, everything that you can imagine. And helping to heal through the art and science of yoga has been the greatest gift of my life personally, and which is why after having studied from Harvard, my parents expected me to probably work in corporate America for the rest of my life, but I dedicated my life to this work because I saw the tangible results in myself, in my students, in everyone that the practice was touching. So putting it together was an absolute labor of love. We really spent a lot of time thinking through things and bringing it together. And what we're sharing and offering is a 14-week course, which is going to start January 6th. It's going to go on till April 14th of 2026. We meet once a week. We have once a week live lectures, 2-hour lectures every Tuesday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern. They're live lectures. I'll be leading those lectures. Past that, we have pre-recorded lectures of Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, of Lee Albert, talking about the science of mind-body health, and Lee Albert's anatomy, which is going to be part of our yoga anatomy training. Yoga Alliance expects a 200-hour graduate to have at least 75 hours studying techniques, training, practice, which is what we're going to cover. Anatomy and physiology is supposed to be about 30 hours. We study yoga humanities, which is about 30 hours. You'll learn about professional essentials, about 50 hours. It's hard to remember all these different categories, but we cover all the requirements to get a Yoga Alliance accredited credential, right? And at the end of the 14 weeks, when you've been trained to teach, you actually lead a class. And that's when everything comes together. However, I will say that I started my journey 2008, so it's roughly 17 years. I'm still learning, I'm still studying, I'm still going deeper because it's unending. The love for the craft is unending, but also, as Oscar Wilde said, there's a very famous quote of Oscar Wilde that says, the most enduring love affair of your life is the one you start with yourself. And SPIRE Yoga really is an invitation to go deep within yourself and to go to the places that you've been curious about, may have wanted the skills to visit and study. And also, it opens up an invitation to continue going down that path, or I should say, aspiring up that path. So, this is a little bit about the intro to SPIRE, right? It's hard to cover a lot of material just talking about it. That's why I think it's helpful that you guys will ask questions. I'm happy to answer. In our Zoom room today, there are also two of our graduates, who I'm so proud of. We have Milena Barquin and we have Meg Nocero, and they both graduate from the first and the second cohort. And I'd love for them to also share their experience and how they found the journey for themselves and what they have to say. And you can also ask them questions, of course. Meg, would you like to unmute yourself and share a little bit about what you're doing with your credential and how was the experience for you?
So, hello everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces. Caroline, I was interested. She's already a yogi herself, but I have to say that the information that you've learned in this program is going to help you in every different facet. You won't even realize it. Certainly, I do a lot of the quad stretches from the Magnificent Seven as I stand in line sometimes. I do a lot of stationary biking and spinning, and I have a lot of tightness. It's amazing how they presented the Magnificent Seven, and then what you can do with it. But as a point of reference, as far as my experience with this course, first of all, I love Tania. She's an incredible teacher, and she really makes you feel comfortable in the uncertainty of whether or not you're actually able to do something like this. I'd never be yoga aligned or even anything adjacent, but I've taught yoga classes now 5 times in my building. I offer it to my community. They've gone really well. The different asanas that they teach you, Tanya teaches you, are very easily understood, as well as you turn around and you can teach them. And it's kind of like being instructed for quite some time, and then you actually go and do it, and you're like, wow, it all comes together after all the practice and all the collaborative efforts in the class as well. So I am actually teaching it for my community. And I do also with my friends, if they want to learn as well, I'll take them into my own yoga room and we do the poses as well. I'll tell you the biggest thing that I gained from this program, I would say, is the Magnificent Seven. And I was supposed to show you all, but it's better that I tell you. Honestly, there's 7 poses that you can do, a minute each, that literally make your heal your body. I do believe over time the cumulative effect of these poses keep your body stretched, the blood flow to the different muscle groups, and Lee says that it's a insurance policy for you well into your old age because you can do it into your 90s and beyond. And that's the whole point, is to continue to be mobile and keep moving your body in healthy ways, not to hurt yourself. And these certainly have helped me very much. But I'm going to leave the floor to Milena now. Any questions you have, you're welcome to ask.
I'll just butt in a little bit, Meg. Thank you so much. I just want to give a little disclaimer. The Mag 7 that that magnificent Meg is talking about is so the sequence is an hour long. However, there are 7 very critical poses that for people who are in a rush, who don't have time to do a 1 hour yoga class, or can't practice the whole sequence, or can only do half, or have less time. They're picking up kids, dropping, running around, cooking food, thinking of things, going to jobs. The Mag 7 is something you can even do while you're brushing your teeth in the morning. And yes, it heals your body, it restores your body, and it prepares your body for the long haul, for whatever we are to experience in this life, this joyous life that we are here to live. Hopefully our bodies, this body vehicle, will be a strong companion with us further out into the future. So those are critical 7 poses that are part of our sequence that Meg is talking about. Just wanted to share that. Melina, you'd like to say something?
Hello everyone. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for inviting me to share a bit of my experience. I have so many things that I want to share because honestly, it's been like giving me a guide into my path. I don't know, some of you maybe are very sportive or active. I'm not at all. I share with a lot of my friends that I've been working remote for the last years. So they say that when the student is ready or is needed, I will say that teacher shows. And I'm so lucky to know Tania for 5 years now, and Tania and Tal is like double magical. And then knowing the work of Lee Albert was like, whoa. And I joined the certificate. No, my idea wasn't to teach. My idea wasn't to heal myself. Since I sitting, like literally sitting so many hours a day in the computer working, and maybe some of you are like that, or your clients now are like that. So I joined to heal myself, to start moving myself. I will share with you guys that in May, I have a back injury and I was literally bed office for a month. And it happened that by that time I was joining this certificate, I couldn't imagine in my craziest dreams, because I didn't even dream about it, that I could be teaching on my own level, of course, yoga, a SPIRE yoga lesson in Rio de Janeiro in English. As you can hear, my English is very Spanish. So everything that has bringing to me, like healing myself and inspire other people. I don't see myself yet as giving yoga classes, but what has happened is I work with a lot of business people or businesswomen that are way too busy. Like I am busy, but we don't really take care of ourselves, even though we think or talk about wellness. And they asked me, Male, what are you doing? And the last thing that came out to me was in a meeting last week. And they were telling me, well, where were you? Because you haven't been here. Oh, I went to Brazil to a happiness retreat and I gave yoga. What? I like, yeah, how is that? And it opened a door to maybe share with businessmen some of these tools. Like it just opened a way in so many levels, and I'm so grateful. Some of you were in my class. Also the community, the support, the love, the loving of on myself, believing in myself. So I have so many things to share because obviously I'm excited about it. So if you want to hear more about my experience, please reach out and I can share with you how has been helping me. And I believe it's just an open door to be healthier, be better, and share with others. So thank you, Tania. Thank you, Tal. Thank you, Lee. And thank you, everyone who is joining the path together.
Thank you, Melina. You were barely even graduated when you were leading the class in Rio at the retreat. So that was amazing. The feedback was fantastic.
That was an amazing experience because it was the first time that I was guiding in like, and even in a second language, you know. So and teach you in so many ways. Not it's only about the postures. Of course the postures are important, but how we love how we're patient with ourselves, how we take care of ourselves, that we are in different levels, and it's by teaching, maybe I believe now, that we keep learning about ourselves. So just wanted to share that as well. Thank you, Tania.
Thank you so much. I see Javier's hand is up. Hi, Javier. Good to see you.
Of course, Tania, better late than never. So,
Always welcome.
yeah, I just wanted to tell you that as I was listening to you, my interest, is to help people to have enough economic resources so they can live a comfortable life. But now what you're bringing to the table is how to create enough physical resources so you have a comfortable life. It's not only about the economics, it's also about the physical that would allow you to be active throughout your later life, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s. So to me, that you're really hitting around a particular spot that is really relevant, that we need to incorporate the physical, if, once you start getting into your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, as research. I see it as building up my research for later on. Just like as I build up my economic research, I'm going to be building my physical reserve. That's how I see it. And I thank you for you bringing this up.
Thank you for that, Javier. I cannot endorse that. I mean, more than, it's absolutely the truth. In fact, it was a conversation I was having with someone a couple of days ago who's in the field of psychology, and we were talking about how, what are the two most important things that we need to live, you know, a good life? Yes, you need to be economically comfortable. And yes, you need to have health. If we don't have health, it doesn't matter how economically comfortable we are either. All those resources will go towards health. But if we have health and we have economic resources, then, that's the perfect marriage that creates the foundation for a fulfilling life, hopefully a well-lived life. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Yeah, those are important things.
Well, I'm saying it from my heart. I just finished doing a 40 days pilgrimage because I'm able to do physically and economically. Otherwise, if I have the means, but I don't have the physical strength, impossible. So, it's very apropos, because, it's better to start, of course, the earlier the better, but it's never late. That's my philosophy.
Fully agree. When and I felt this, in 2006 when I walked into Thal's class the first time. I mean, I was honestly, too young at that time or aware. I wasn't aware enough to know. Actually, I graduated in 2006, so it was a few years before that. I walked into class, I was studying international relations, but I took Thal's class in positive psychology, and I said, you know what? I think what this man is teaching is more important to me for my growth and my personal evolution than anything else. Instead of trying to fix the world, I got to start by fixing myself. And that was the first experience I had. And after that, because he recommended yoga and I went the yoga path, you know, my you guys remember you were in Mexico City when I was giving that talk. I lost my father when I was 18. I was extremely close to him. So I had a lot of personal grief and trauma I was working through that hadn't gotten resolved. And it was showing up in different ways in my life. And it was the path of yoga that really taught me how to heal parts of myself that were inconsolable. But that investment in myself has allowed me to now live a life where I'm not fearful of the unexpected. I mean, things will happen. They happen to all of us, but we need to have the skills. We owe it to ourselves so that we go through those difficult patches with some grace and some sense of peace inside, right? And I also think in the digital age, 2026, it sounds like AI is going to take us to another level of speed. Things are faster than we can imagine. So it's become almost like a radical decision to say, okay, listen, I got to take care of me. I got to heal this. I got to reclaim time for myself because I'm just bleeding time. We're all bleeding. If it's not our devices, it's so many people, so much texting, so many commitments that we have all the time. And also emailing and everything with technology has sped up incredibly. So I think as we're moving more towards into these modern times, we need the wisdom of the ancients. We need the scientific evidence. We need the psychological knowledge to help ourselves, to experience fulfilling relationships, to have meaningful lives, have purpose-driven lives. So yeah, I feel like it's one of those things. It's absolutely imperative.
Thank you so much, Tania.
Thank you, Javier. Hi, Mariano. Good to see
Hi,
you.
Tania. How are you? Nice to see you too. Nice to see everyone. Happier, Javier. You even changed your name. Nice to see you again. Um,
Happier.
um,
Oh,
I had I mean, my question is, I wanted to go into the first cohort, but I couldn't go into the first week. So I said, I'll just, go into the second one. And then Naviat said, no, too late. You cannot, it's already closed. You have to do the second one. And that'll start in October. But then they announced the PhD. So now I'm doing the PhD with Meg and with Mila. Um, and that's a lot of hours a week. At least for me, it's at least, 24 hours on average, sometimes 26, 30 hours a week. And this is going to be, another 15 hours a week. So, or 14 or whatever, or more. I mean, English is not my first language. So it always takes me more than usual to, read the things or watch the videos and take the notes and everything. So my question was, I mean, right now we're having the last week of our first semester of the PhD. We're going to be 5 weeks on vacation. And then we start again and we don't stop the whole year. I mean, there's no vacations during the year. But the thing is, the PhD takes 4 years. So my question is, I mean, if I wait 4 years to start the Yoga Spire, I'll be 70 years old. Uh, and how, if it's worth starting it now, maybe taking advantage of this 5 week vacation and actually speeding up some of the readings on some of the videos during the 5 weeks on vacation, so I don't have to put, 40-hour weeks of studying after PhD starts again, which probably will be too much. And I don't know if Meg, that already took the course, can also help me with that because she's also in the PhD.
Mariana, that's a very important question, and I will also let Meg speak on this. But I'm realizing in the first cohort and the second cohort of Spire, nobody is just doing the yoga. People have full-time jobs, or they're raising kids, or they're doing other certifications, or they're in the PhD. People are in, it's just the world we're living in. Everyone's doing three other things. Everyone's got, it's a buffet. It's just so much going on. Yes, it will be at least a 14-hour commitment a week of work. However, that said, no one is doing just Spire Yoga. People are doing other things and doing Spire Yoga. The community is very supportive. The way we have created the program is to support, professionals. So the first 3 weeks were a little intense with the workload. Initially, when we started, Meg was in the first cohort. The first 6 weeks were quite intense. You'd be happy to know, Meg, that starting January 6th, our cohorts are not 12 weeks long anymore. They're 14 weeks now. We added 2 extra weeks for that reason, that we spread it out and we give people more time, more space, so, they can navigate with all their other responsibilities. Granted, the work is, it's a journey within. However, I'm doing the master's program, and my classmates are here. I see Yvette is here, Nicole was here. And we are inundated. You guys have gone through the masters. We're inundated with workload and projects and assignments and readings. And it's doable. It's doable, but the PhD work is very complementary. Like the idea of SPIRE that Tal had and wanted to have SPIRE Yoga under the HSA umbrella. And a lot of the videos that you're going to watch that are the psychology section of it, or the MBI, or the habit, are material you have a handle on already. So that's a big advantage for HSA people as opposed to some people that are going to come from outside. It will be material you will be familiar with. It'll just be the yoga part that will be the stuff that you're really going to sink your teeth into. That's going to be new. But yeah, I can't say that I came across any student who's not doing 3 other things. It's just the world we're living in right now. But Meg, would you like to add and share now that you're in the PhD?
So to your point, Tanya, the way the class is set up is like the same on the LMS system. So you're very familiar with that because you've done it through the master's and now the PhD, and SPIRE Yoga is set up the same way. So you're already familiar. It's not a learning curve to jump on and figure out how things are set up, which I think kind of makes people crazy at first. But once they get into it, you're like, oh, this is familiar to me. So if you're talking about whether or not you're going to be able to handle the PhD as well as SPIRE Yoga, I'd like to think everything is complementary in my life. I'd like to kind of multi-avenue everything, like, we're one thing. So I would use a lot of the information that I'm learning through Spire in the actual lessons or the the homework process we have. So like for instance, you learn all about the 8 limbs of yoga, Pantajali, and all of the different the yoga sutras. So I would probably use that in my writing for PhD, because that's something I'm experiencing. So you get a lot of, I always say, use your life as literally a curiosity so that you can use it in other facets of your life as well. So that being said, yes, I'm happy to hear it's 14 weeks. I did find myself like 2 weeks behind sometimes, but you were very forgiving to us as the first cohort, and I had to like catch up because there's a lot of reading. And certainly with the information that so with Lee's portion, it's separated in 3 portions. The mind body integration, which is Tal, the yoga is Tanya, and then the integrated positional therapy is Lee. So in Lee's portion, you learn about the anatomy. You learn about anatomy, right? You're actually seeing how your body impacts your nervous system and your endocrine system and all of these wonderful things that I would think is be good to know. I mean, I have more knowledge as to how my body functions. That was a little bit more challenging to me than the yoga was a very fascinating, and then the mind body we already have from the masters. Like she said, it's information that we've already read. So to your point, I don't think you should wait. I think that the actual tools that you get can help you, especially when you're sitting on your butt doing a lot of the work. I mean, there are literally things that you can do to the slacken, stretch, or other option. These are things that you can do to like keep pain free, keep pain free, which I think is always a benefit. I don't like to be in pain. Pain makes it even more work. It makes it harder to actually do the work. So if I can sit here and do the work because I'm stretching my body and what I've learned from Tanya, then better for it. So it's not it's work. You're getting certified to be a 200-hour certification. You got to do the work, but I think that you're very capable, and I think you would be, the benefits far outweigh what you think could be too much. Plus
I
you
have
like, you do everything anyway, so
Sorry, I would like to compliment something about that, Mariano. I'm not in the PhD, but I was the first one who English is my second language, and I don't live in USA as you, so we don't practice our English as well. So I totally understand that it takes longer for us to translate, to like take in all the information. The great news is that since the Aspire community is so kind, where we are creating a community from all the cohorts together, and since now Spanish people who speak Spanish have done it already, we have material either of we have already translate for us. Number two, books that are in English that we already found in Spanish, so that make it easier, and yeah, some of that, and make it like if I did it, if I could do it, you can do it, you know. And as Meg says, and as Tania says, I really believe that the best time to do it is now, because if you don't try now, like, and it's calling you, wait for, we don't know what is going to happen in 4 years, you know. Maybe you are going to do something else. If now it's calling you and you already hold it for a while, maybe it's because it's telling you something. Just like listening to your instincts is very important. But I really think that is like doable. And as I mentioned before, since we Spanish people did it already with good English as yours, you are supported with some materials and how to make it easier for you. I hope that helps you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Malena and Meg and Tanya. Yeah, I think I'll get in it. But I mean, one of the conditions to get into the PhD for Ursula, my wife, was just, I mean, don't take all my time, because in the masters, it was Sundays from 6 in the morning till midnight, just doing the homeworks. And last Sunday, I was from 9:30 a.m. until 1 a.m. I mean, I don't know, more than 12 hours just doing the PhD assignment because I fell behind. Uh, and so that was a condition. But my question would be, we're having a 5-week vacation. That's going to be the longest, and I think the only vacation we're going to have for the whole next year. Is it possible to, starting next week, to start getting some of the readings or some of the videos so I can start doing, I mean, the 24-hour a week, keep going, but not with a PhD, but starting with the yoga. So by the time the 6th comes and we start, I think the 14th of January, we start again the next semester. I'm a little bit ahead, so I don't have to have the 14, 15 hours extra, but maybe, 8 or 10 or whatever.
That's a great point, Mariano. And it really makes me think because my goal has always been since we started, and having taught for 15 years in different yoga studios and working with different clients and different students, my goal is always to let's try to make this a comfortable journey for the people who are showing the heart and the desire to be, because this is really a path of the heart. And if there's a willingness and there's a call that you're feeling inside, then I would be happy to work with any one of you and support you in that journey. So if you need access, and the LMS, you have lifetime access to the material as well. Yeah, we could certainly talk about that. And there's certain stuff you could absolutely start with before the semester kicks off, before the cohort kicks off. Yeah.
I mean, I can do, I mean, I can pay, so Aviat doesn't have any problem with the payment. But usually, they open 1 week at a time. So they don't open ahead of it. So my question was, I would pay and I could get ahead as long as I can get the material starting next week and don't wait until the 6th, because then I want to have only 1 week. If that is possible, and Aviat can write to me and he can give me access to the material beforehand, then I would get into the Aspire Yoga. If it's gonna start January 6th, then maybe I don't know.
So, Mariano,
Yeah.
let me jump in, and I'll just say, if you're familiar with the certificate course or the MA or the PhD, the yoga course is structured a bit differently. You have access to all the materials from day one. Okay, so you can move forward and read and take assignments. The only thing that is time sensitive is the webinar themselves. So there's a webinar every Tuesday at 9 a.m. And that's of course can't be moved. However, I'll put a little caveat, and Tania, correct me if I'm wrong. The content that you learn on the webinar itself connects to the assignments. So some of
Yes.
the assignments might not make 100% sense before Tania teaches them on the webinar. Am I correct, Tania?
Yes, however, you will become familiar with them. And yes, so unlike the other programs, we don't open it week by week. SPIRE Yoga, the whole thing is once you're enrolled, you've signed in, you have access to all 14 weeks material immediately. Some of the material which you will be reading, if you start earlier, yes, it gets more clearer during the lectures, but it's not material that's going to be cryptic to understand if you were to take a head start. Of course, the
Okay.
lectures will certainly take you deeper into the journey.
And Aviad, and can it be open starting next week instead of January 6th?
I think so. Reach out to me and we'll find a solution. So,
Okay. Yeah, let me know. If that's it, then I'll go with the payment. Thank you.
okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mariano, for your questions. Hi, Christina.
Okay. Ciao, Tania. Ciao, everyone. I would like, well, first of all, as I told you on the phone, I will have probably some problems next month because my companion is going through some medical treatments, and we are planning maybe to have a week of vacation in February after he finishes chemo. And then I will go at the end of, in the middle of April, hopefully to dive. So you already told me that we can make an arrangement for the assignment, the final assignment at the end of the program. If I miss 1 week in February and I don't have time to study that week, it would be okay anyway, and so I can end my program something like 3-4 weeks later. First question. Second question, is the SPIRE Yoga a sequence of asana? A fixed sequence of asana.
Yes. I'll answer your first question, Christina. We have people in every cohort taking a vacation because that's just life. People take time off. SPIRE Yoga is very forgiving of that. Life carries on. And yes, if you are submitting your final offering a little later, then your certification just hinges on that. So whenever you submit that and it's approved and we have a chat about it, then you get your certification after that. Yeah, so it hinges on that. And yeah, and the second question, is it a set sequence? Yes, it's a 60-minute, 59.5-minute set sequence. And then there are 2 other sequences. One is 15 minutes and one's 30 minutes long. And then we have the Magnificent 7, which can be done in 7 minutes or 10 minutes maximum, wherever you are. So we do give you a variation that you play with and that you explore and you get to know. But our longest sequence is a set sequence, and it's 59 minutes long. Yeah.
And how long do you stay in the asanas?
The asanas are mostly, it's like any normal yoga class.
Okay.
There is a few poses that we do recommend we stay for at least 60 seconds. at least a minute. Now, one of the fathers of yoga, Krishnamacharya, back in the 1930s, I believe, had said that every yoga pose should be held for at least 14 breaths. We're not doing that with every single pose. It's because now we're living these modern lives where time is, we have to incorporate the world we're in. However, there are a few poses that we do insist and suggest and request that they would be held for at least 60 seconds so that you really reap the maximum benefit of the pose in your body, so that your body becomes balanced, so that you don't experience pain in your body, so that your body becomes the companion that you want it to be far out into the future.
Okay. And they are the normal asanas. No, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know, there's 200 yoga asanas or upwards of 200 yoga asanas that exist in the yoga encyclopedia. They're just drawn from that. But we don't have 200 yogas, so we just have a 60-minute class. So it's like any yoga class, same amount of poses, and it's drawn from the umbrella, all the asanas that come under the umbrella of yoga. Nothing has been invented. The wheel has not been reinvented. Yeah, it's all yoga.
And it's like it's a quite it's slow or it's challenging.
That's a beautiful question. Thank you all the questions everyone's asking are very helpful. It's not, my first 200-hour teacher training was in Ashtanga.
Yeah, yeah.
Is downright challenging. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of charangas, there's a lot of yoga push-ups.
Yeah.
We took all that out. We even reduced the number of downward facing dogs from our sequence because we're really working towards a goal and a purpose. It's a very purpose-driven yoga training. And the purpose is healing the body. And one of the important things I must mention that in the 30 years that Lee Albert has been teaching, has been healing people, majority of his patients and clients have been yoga teachers because they come with bad injuries, torn ligaments, inflamed tendons, torn muscles. And he said that there's something's wrong in the way things are being done. And so we've really taken that into account. And so the poses are really more restorative and more healing in nature. Yes.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Hi, Carolyn. I see your hand is up. Your physical hand is up.
Hi.
Well,
Thank you, first of all, Tania. Nice to meet you and good to see the others that I know, and Meg and others. I practice yoga regularly and I practice Iyengar yoga, and it completely saved me in terms of I needed surgery and years ago, like 10 years ago, like shoulder surgery, and I really don't need it anymore. And I have actually experienced the healing that yoga brings. And I'm at a point where I literally can't live without yoga at some point. So I do, even if I just do a standing pose, like for a minute, I do it. So I'm already there in that respect. And I'm really, really interested in a teacher training, maybe like this, maybe. I'm not sure about the timing. One of my questions was going to be, when is the next cohort starting? That was going to be a question. But the thing that I'm skeptical about, because the type of yoga that I practice is in a class in Tel Aviv, an amazing class where, no exaggeration, there are young people and old people. There are a couple of women in my class that are like in their 90s. And there are strong men, muscular men, and there are pregnant women, and everybody in one class. It's the most unbelievable class, but it's very hands-on. So sometimes we help each other, and we assist each other. We're taught how to assist each other. And I'm skeptical about how do you teach yoga online? I mean, that's my question. How is that possible to get a certification online and then so-called become a teacher. I'm just like, I feel like I'm still a beginner and I've been doing this for 10 years. And I don't know how after 16 weeks it can be that you could be a teacher, and that at no point in time will you, Tania, as the teacher, be able to see how my hip is aligned or not, or I will be able to learn from other people's human bodies in person. That's my question.
That's a very good question, Carolyn. I appreciate you asking that. After teaching yoga for 15 years in person,
Mm.
I switched online when COVID struck in New York, around the world, but New York was hit quite hard in the early days. And we were going crazy sitting at home, and people were confused, and it was a bad time. And I said, you know what? We're all a little lost. Let me just ask my clients if they'd be interested to do yoga online. So
Mm.
that's when it started for me. I switched my business from teaching in studio to teaching online, and everyone used to show up and agreed that hands-on assist. Now, Iyengar is a very prop oriented. They use a lot of props in the training. It is a very hands-on assist, specific kind of a yoga training, which I love, by the way. I love Iyengar style. Um, However, everybody's body is different anyway, right? Everybody's hips are a little misaligned, or they say that the human body is asymmetrical, right? One side is, right? What we hope and intend and have been trying to communicate and to help embolden our students with is the skill and the ability to understand their own bodies, understand their own alignment, understand their own muscle imbalances so that they can bring their bodies into balance through the postures, through the sequence that we're teaching. And that knowledge, yes, we're learning online. Yes, I'll be looking at you doing the yoga while we're with your camera on, and I can see when a downward facing dog is not looking right, or when a Tadasana is not looking right. And I really break it down. Like I really simplify it and break it down bit by bit when I'm teaching so that people can really imbibe the pose fully. Because of technology, it has made it possible for us to reach a lot more people, and a lot more people have been able to receive the healing. And then, after that, well, I've been teaching for several years, but Milena, for instance, learned online, and even like a week shy of graduating, had to teach a class. And the way people received her class or how they felt in their bodies when she was teaching, I believe didn't feel like, she had not taught a room full of students before as such. The other thing is, at least in the United States now, they don't allow us to assist physically bodies anymore. So if you're in a yoga class, there's a good chance the teacher's not even going to walk up and physically touch your body. This is something that's been instituted in Kripalu, for instance. They don't allow that. And for me also, that was one of the harder things when I was, in the yoga world for a while, and I realized, wow, uh, we just, a lot of things are not happening anymore. We're not actually physically touching students or assisting them. Right or wrong, these are different styles of yoga. Many yoga teacher trainings don't even encourage it, have never encouraged it even long before, it became a thing, or don't assist. But we're hoping, and our goal and our aim has been to impart you the knowledge and the skills so that you can teach, you have the wherewithal, you can guide a class. In person or online. And all the practicums, the final exam is all our students teaching other students. It's not an online exam. So we do sort of prime you to have that experience of teaching other people in person.
So is that the responsibility of, so at the end, each one of the students of Spire Yoga would create a class, and then that would be filmed, and that you would be commenting on the class? Is that how it happens?
Yes, exactly. And presently today, for instance, the yoga studio that I taught at for 14 years in New York City, their teacher training has largely gone online, where even though the yoga studio is physically open. and practicums are being submitted online. It's just people are coming up with a melange of what is working presently, but it has not. That sort of training has not resulted in any kind of lack in the students, in their ability to train other people or to lead a yoga class as well. That has been our experience. Um, Malena, how did you feel teaching? You've been learning online and then you were teaching in person. Was there like a big shift? There may have been a little bit of a adjustment, I would imagine, but
Yeah. Well, what I learned or what I'm still learning is like really listen our bodies and how to guide the people to as well listen to their bodies, because I didn't like everyone touch them or tell them how to move. I guide them, like facilitating how to do it and inspire them to everyone to do it on their own level as I am in my own level. So the experience, as far as I know, was very good to them, and it's about practice. But more than everything, is like really, really getting to know our own bodies and what we need, because sometimes we think that we need what somebody else is doing, and we forget to listen to what our body is asking us. So that was more my experience, more or less my experience.
in fact, sorry, I'll just add because I forget some of the things I've done also in life. But I did a 500-hour teacher training, Yoga Alliance certified in meditation. So, one of the things that I'm very well, that I focus a lot on, and I think we all have enjoyed it in different cohorts so far, is really, as Malena said, the focus on how are you feeling in time and space? Where is your body? You really are the compass that's going to help you navigate any space. When you have that familiarity and comfort and sense of a sense of sanctity within your own self, which is what the training wishes to and hopes to impart to its students. When you navigate from that place, you come from a place of presence. It's easier to guide people and to also tell them, get to know your bodies. Every body is different. Sometimes I've had students who came to me with injuries because they took pigeon pose too deep because the teacher was doing it so deep, but their bodies were not prepared. So they actually ripped a muscle just below their hip flexor, right? Or the hamstring got pulled unnecessarily. And I saw so many injuries over the course of 14 years. I was just like, if there's anything I want to emphasize on, and I can forget, so my students remind me, as Malena says, you have to really get to know your body, get really intimate with yourself, because that will help you navigate any space that you're in, because you'll be teaching that to your students. You'll be teaching them to really understand their bodies so they won't go into places that can damage them in any way. That's really part of the training. Yes.
I just want to add one thing because I have to jump because I'm in the HSA movie group. I run it. But I just wanted to add one thing. One of the coolest things that I think I learned from Tanya is, when you're teaching other people the yoga, you have to be cognizant of them. So you have to be cognizant of who is in the room with you. And I think that's one thing that Tanya does very well when she goes through the poses with you, because she actually is showing you, but then watching as well. So you start to learn by mirroring what she's teaching you, how you show up in the pose. We have accountability buddies too. So we have the opportunity to work with another student to actually try to help them. So before we get into a classroom, we have the experience at least with another person, and then we can bring that forward into actually an actual practicum or a class. And I found that, when I was in the classroom, we doing is the best practice. And I think the accountability partners was what actually made the huge difference, and everybody wants to help each other as well. So, everyone says, who wants help? I'll join you. So it's really kind of this collaborative effect as well. So yeah,
And when you sign up, you become part of the whole SPIRE Yoga, all the graduates as well. And we have alumni that have already let me know. They're like, if we need to be paired up with anybody that wants to be guided or wants help, or we're happy to. So the community is very supportive and very loving. And yes, we're online, but you wouldn't feel the difference. You wouldn't feel the difference. The presence is astonishing. It surprised me as well, actually, to be honest.
Sorry, can I ask you another question? Would you say that the sequence that is taught, the 59-minute sequence, is a sequence that could be practiced by different ages? Would you say is it running across the spectrum? Would you say that I could maybe show that sequence to my mom, let's say, who's 80? I'm just curious, like what's the scope of that sequence?
So again, Carolyn, thank you. That's a great and important question. That was one of Lee Albert's main concerns. And in fact, we'd go through one pose so many times, we'd have so many iterations of it, because if anything felt too deep or too taxing on any one particular muscle group, we actually just withdrew it. Because of the amount of injuries Lee had seen in clients. And one of the greatest gifts of working with a neuroanatomist, anatomy therapist, is that he's really seen it on the other side, where people actually walk in with pain and walk in with injuries. Therefore, the curated sequence is really designed to support any age group. And we also will offer modifications along the way of, whether using blocks, using blankets, you take a chair, you always reach for a wall. You don't have to take tree pose all the way with the foot to the inner thigh. You keep it at the ankle. We really insist you see the demographic and also encourage your student to know their body. Yeah, that's an important piece. So thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
All right. Any other thoughts or questions? Are we good for now? Okay. Well, I hope this helped understand some of what we have attempted to do, and some of what we are all finding a lot of joy in doing and practicing. I will tell you, after having done Ashtanga and Vinyasa for 15 years, when I saw this work and I started creating the sequence for it, I was telling Talis, like, I don't know if I'm sold on this. I need to practice. I need to see how this feels before I can teach it to anyone else, because, I can't teach it otherwise if I'm not going to feel good about it in my body. So I spent a month practicing it. And though I'm used to 16 chaturangas and 16 yogic push-ups in a yoga class, I really felt an immense sense of relief when I started doing this pose. And I have this sequence, and I haven't stopped. It's really the only yoga I'm doing, or I dance. If I don't do this yoga, then the other exercise I'll dance. I just feel like it's the way it makes me feel in my body. We are a forward bending society. We have devices, we have these computers, we spend copious hours in front of screens, and it has changed the structure of the human mammal. And it will continue to change our structures because of the nature of the things that we are using to aid our lives with. So this yoga is really about correcting things at a root level before the damage is done. In some cases, people come with chronic pain. The damage is already done. And then we're attempting to bring balance in a pain-free body. But the way life is going and the way we are now, we're not rising with sunrise and sleeping with sunset, right? We're up way past sleeping hours. We're not sleeping properly. We're always on blue screens. It's affecting everything. It's affecting our own neuroanatomy. And this yoga is really designed for who we are today in this modern world. And when I practiced it for a month, I reverted back to Tal and I said, okay, I submit, I surrender. I'll accept. It works. So I'll just confess, I was reluctant myself at first, But then when I started doing it, my body started telling me different things. Because the mind is used to a certain style, it likes pushing itself, it likes going to the next. But the body knows what the truth is. The mind can come up with a lot of stories, but the body knows exactly what the truth is and what is good. And I really learned how to listen. And I've been doing it for 14 years, and I learned to listen to my body in a different way. So that shook me in a very good way. It shook me, and it really helped me reestablish my own practice. So it's been fruitful and healing, and it's been beautiful to see your happy, shiny faces and answer your wonderful questions. And I'm here to answer any questions. I'm going to sort of pop my email in here. Please reach out if you have any more questions. I'm just tanya.kazi@gmail.com. Yeah. Or, well, this is the easier one. So I have one with happiness studies, but I'll leave this one in here. Reach out with any questions. It was great to see you all. Thank you so much for your questions. Appreciate it. And hope we'll see you. Hope we'll see you and the cohorts are every 14 weeks, right? That's how it's going to be, with maybe a week's break in between. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.